Hey everybody, welcome to What Drives Us episode. It's just going to start over and over and over again. That's it. One more time. Thank you, Michael Manring.
I thought it was going to be the long one.
Stop it. I pulled the plug. I literally physically pulled the plug. I don't want to start the show with an Apple software rant. Hey, everybody, welcome to What Drives Us, episode 335 for September 25th, 2019. My name is Russell Frost. I have the pleasure to be your host on this week's journey into sustainable energy and advanced tech mobility. With me on that journey, three of my good friends, experts in their own field, or actually, they're outstanding in their own field. Is that the joke? And they're experts, too. Paul definitely wins best groom though with that new haircut. I'm jealous because I'm looking a little too much like Einstein without the brains. So
now you see my earpod things though. I could used to hide them.
Oh God. See, well that well-groomed man is the owner and founder and main man at Boulder Hybrids in Boulder, Colorado, Mr. Paul Guzik.
Everybody, I just realized I need to go put a key in a customer car.
Paul's going to go take care of his customers while I introduce everyone else. On my screen, the man above him with the gloriously blurred background and the bright blue shirt is our friend in the Washington, D.C. area, Mr. Casey Green.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Green.
We went to the Blue Ridge Parkway Drive, had 120 Teslas fill up the parking lot of a well, first we confused the heck out of whatever monitoring software is going on for the supercharger because there's 8 bays. We ran 120 Teslas through it, and then we went across the street to the Toys R Us, filled up every spot there. The store was closed, so you had a lot full of the big kids' toys, and then we went and drove the Blue Ridge Parkway. And it was a blast. It's beautiful.
It's a gorgeous drive. Absolutely. And speaking of gorgeous, my friend in Canada, he has the Aero Wheel collection that is the envy of the entire KW region, Mr. Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everyone. Still collecting. If you want to get rid of them, just send them my way. I'll hang them on the wall of shame right behind me. But welcome to the show. We've got a number of interesting stories for you this week.
Yay! Well,
they pointed out that the Aero wheels were designed to sit flush with the wheel and not protrude, and so it's kind of interesting. You see all the new owners thinking that the Aero wheel covers will protect their wheels, and then they get a rude awakening.
That is not happening.
So wheels get scratched underneath the Aero covers.
Yep, that's not happening.
Be careful where you drive.
Well, Mark has our first story this week, and it's where he gets to rub in the idea that he gets something that no one in the United States gets.
Well, I'm not really sure about that. We talked, we discussed about VW's new offering of the i3, which is basically a hatchback, a small hatchback that they are releasing in Europe. The U.S. indicated, VW U.S. indicated that they're not bringing the hatchback to the U.S. market. This article that was quoted states that Canada is looking at possibly bringing the ID3 to Canada, although it won't be as quick as Europe. But when you go into the article details, what comes out is that there's the possibility that VW USA is not bringing the ID3 to its shores, not because it won't sell, but it may sell too many units, is what the article is referring to. They're thinking that they would rather have a higher priced car coming to the US where people could collect the federal incentive that will be good for VW for quite some time. And of course, VW gets to share in that profit. If they have a cheaper model come, technically they don't get as much out of it. So the thought that this article puts out is that the ID3 hatchback may indeed be something that U.S. customers want. It's just that VW USA is not interested in bringing that as their first flavor. They'd rather have a more expensive crossover
More like
to
a
bring to
Tiguan
the
or
US.
something.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So that was the interesting part of this article that I read. And the other thing is that if you're thinking, well, maybe I'll just skip across the border and buy the Canadian version, we won't be getting ours for quite some time. It'll be after the ID4 is released in the US before we see it as well. So they're not bringing it in any timely fashion. But I thought it was very interesting where this article was pointing out about VW saying, "Oh my gosh, the U.S. customers don't want a hatchback. They just don't want it. That's why we're not bringing it." This article indicates that may not be the case.
The auto industry's spiel these days is Americans don't like cars; they want SUVs, right?
Right.
So,
right.
They keep telling us.
So, but you know, you look at the Golf, and man, that was a popular car. And it's a small hatchback, just like this ID 3 is. Same type of footprint, same type of look, same type of stance. And they're saying, no, it's never going to sell here, so we're not bringing it.
But the part about the credits is a good point, because even Toyota has burned through more credits than VW has, and Toyota's not even trying.
Yeah.
As if we needed another reason to be pissed off and hateful towards Volkswagen, they go and pull this shit, which is basically just like dropping their pants and going, yeah, no, you guys don't get it.
But there is one benefit to being late to the party is they can say, hey, our cars have rebates. Everyone else is gone. Come to us.
Yeah.
But if
they should have done a cap for the whole industry. Hey, 1 million cars, and whoever's late, well, you miss out.
Yeah.
And if they're just stalling so they can sell more expensive ones, well, that sucks.
Yeah. That's why they said we don't want it. That way it doesn't sound as bad as we want more profit.
You know, the idea that maybe we could get a Volkswagen in the low 20s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's super cool. That'd be great. But of course, we don't deserve it. I got nothing. It sucks.
It is auto industry.
Yeah.
It's bean counters. That's what's going on. It's counting where the money is, where the more profit is, and why not strike where we can get the most money out of it. I understand it.
Sure. I get it. Well, speaking of striking where you can get the most money, Casey has a story about a little electric car company maybe doing business with somebody much, much larger.
Indeed. So earlier this week, late last week, really recently, Amazon let it slip that they were getting a Prime delivery van from Rivian, and Rivian had yet to announce such a thing. They just had their partnership was all that they had announced up until this point. And this thing is beautiful. Let me see if I can make this bigger. I cannot.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So here we go. So this is
This
what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want
to turn that into a motorhome.
That's what I was just telling Russell before the show.
That is a conversation we had before the show. I so want one of these to turn it into a camper. Damn it.
So I said that even if for some reason Rivian doesn't sell these direct, say it's just Amazon exclusive, there's going to come a time where they have to liquidate these things. And at that point, you buy it wholesale and turn it into an RV.
You know that might not happen. UPS does not sell their retired vans. They grind them up. You cannot. You've never seen a former UPS van as a private vehicle or as a plumber's truck.
If it was like a Ford Econoline,
they drive the shit out of them, and then they crush them themselves.
I hope
is that because they don't want anyone to have the type
trademark
of
vehicle? Yeah.
Okay, the look of a vehicle.
And I think they've squeezed every ounce of life out of them by the time they retire them, and they just don't feel they'd be safe to pass on to anyone else.
Yeah.
Okay. But this vehicle looks horrible, in my opinion.
Here, let me get another angle.
It looks like
stand up in it.
A bread box, like it's with wheels. Like, oh my gosh, it's just.
Well, you got to carry hundreds of packages.
Well, that's exactly why they want every
rectangular boxes.
They want every square inch usable inside that vehicle to throw another parcel in. But man, does that ever look
like a rear angle? That
ever look ugly?
It's aerodynamic and everything. Tiny wheels.
You're using ugly in a word in a way that I would not use it, because I think that thing's amazingly awesome.
Oh my!
Sleek, aerodynamic.
Keep in mind,
beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
One of my dream cars is the Ford Transit Connect. So let's just.
Yeah, that's.
I got issues.
Those are ugly.
I got issues, but I won't buy one because it only gets 22 mpg.
Yeah.
Now, before the show, we were kind of kicking around as to what do you think they will put the range these vehicles will get? What's everyone's guess? The average UPS vehicle driving around town.
Do you think 200 or less?
So you think it's 100 or less?
I think it's 200 or less.
200 or less.
What do you think? Most cities, the routes are well under 100 miles a day.
Exactly. But the Prime Sprinter vans, the ones that are owned by the small businesses, assuming they do that same program with this, they have to be able to go a little bit further.
Well, if it's someone who has a rural route where they go out in the booths,
so they might have 2 miles.
But like in a city like Boulder, I mean, there's a UPS barn and
20 miles and done.
30 trucks, and they do their loop and they go back, every night. So it'd be perfect for that.
So while we're all talking about all the good stuff, and there's nothing.
But is there a heliport on the roof for all the drones that drive to the neighborhood? The drones go off and drop all the packages.
No, they switched to the blimp. They switched to the blimp, Paul. So now all the drones are coming out of the airship already. So no need for the vehicles on the ground to launch the drones. The airship will do that.
Yeah, but this is a full-size van, so you get 5 or 8 solar panels on the roof without affecting anything. Now that you won't be able to drive on them, but you'll be able to, top it off.
Top up the drones. No, the driver will go sit in a neighborhood. The drones will go off to the last quarter mile, and then he'll go to the next neighborhood.
Speaking of drones, so there's a company partnering with Walgreens, and I forget their name. It just slipped my mind as soon as I said it. They are in southwestern Virginia. They are actually authorized to do the first few drone deliveries here in the United States. We'll see how
they're approved to do so, like that in just a test area, right?
Test market, southwestern Virginia. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That would be interesting to watch.
They're gonna bring you your medicine and stuff. So small item.
We talked about this a few weeks ago. Amazon is a Rivian investor.
They are.
$230 million, was it?
700 million.
Or was it that much?
That was the change in Bezos' sofa, but
that's right. Bezos just found that in his shorts and went, you know what? Let's invest this in something.
This will work.
So, interestingly enough, I mean, Amazon is buying vehicles from Amazon.
Yeah, 700 million. Yeah, Ford was 500 million, and Amazon did an additional 350 million. Oh, sorry, no, Cox Automotive did an additional 350 million.
There we go. So they're kind of buying stock in a company they own part of.
Yeah,
they're sort of pumping their own stock in a way. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. Like, good for them, right? Obviously, they're believers.
They don't own part of Mercedes, so might as well buy your vans from your people.
I just think it's an interesting thing to bring up. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not. And I'm a huge Rivian fan. I love them. I think they're doing a lot of things right, and I hope that their production vehicles, when we see them, are everything that they promised them to be, because they're very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they're a great company.
They seem to be, yeah. Well, that's all I got on that. Anybody got anything else on Rivian?
It's interesting that Amazon jumped in front of this, and we had no clue that Rivian even considered a van before this. Like,
it was rumored or speculated, but not widely.
Not as Rivian
kept. Yeah, right. Especially because Rivian kept shooting it down. But it'll be interesting to see if these jump in front of the customer deliveries, because they are going to have the Tesla problem where they're going to have trouble keeping up with manufacturing unless they do like GM and Ford have done in the past and sub it out. They could do that.
Well, and so the delivery schedule is staggered. They're not even going to get vehicles, I think, until 2022.
Right. But
and then 2023, 2024, and through 2025. So 100,000, there's a big chunk, and then I think there's 3 other little deliveries.
Right. But then the customer deliveries are in the middle of all that, and are they going to be delayed? And if they are, do you get a better car because you waited, or is it going to be this year's technology 2 years late?
I mean, I think it's pretty cool because it's going to get like other people seeing these vans going, oh, they're all electric. Maybe I could use that for my business. You know, Amazon believes in it.
And then we had already talked a couple weeks ago about Elon talked about getting together with Daimler again and redoing the Sprinter van. So either they'll probably do it their own, or they'll finally get back together again, bring the band back together. So there's going to be. I don't know why they didn't start with businesses first, because like you said, the bean counters, this is their dream. Like zero maintenance, well, not zero, but near zero maintenance, and the fuel cost is like
and dedicated routes, and you know exactly how far they're going, and you know how much battery and charge to put in them. It makes complete sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's a great use for that. There's no doubt about it. And again, you're not worried about range anxiety. They know what they're going to drive.
And they don't need to make them extra performant. You could put in just the right size motor, because you don't want your packages doing 0 to 60 in 2. You want them to just kind of just get up to speed and not get run over. Don't get run off the road. Yeah.
Go up a hill. Well, and those vehicles, I mean, those package delivery trucks don't need a lot of power. They're not hauling steel. You know what I mean? They're hauling, for the most part, they take up much more room, cubic space, than they actually carry in weight.
Yeah.
For a business vehicle. So yeah, it's like, you know, it's a big truck full of air for the most part.
Yeah, I was reading one of these commercial vehicles that said if you're going to fill it up with like gravel or whatever, that like it goes from being the whole space to like being like 2, maybe 3 rows of bags, and then you're done. Because like you said, it's not.
You're overweight at that point. Yeah.
Right. But come on, how many of us have gotten an Amazon box this big for this item?
Yes.
I mean, what, you guys don't order rocks every week?
Well, I do order my gravel from Amazon. That is true. I will admit. You busted me, Mark. You got me.
I think I'm going to take my little red wagon to the Amazon dispensary box whenever it's time to get my Soylent delivery next.
There you go.
They have one of those on site here. It's pretty interesting.
Well, speaking of cute little electric vehicles, there's a company that you may have heard of called Lime. Lime does scooters and bikes and all kinds of things. Until recently, Lime had a service called Limepod, and they used Fiat 500Es, the little tiny electric Fiat, and it was basically a car share service run mostly, I think, in Seattle, if not exclusively. And they had several hundred cars there that, like their scooters, just kind of people found them. Oh, hey, I'd like to rent this on the phone, rent it out. Boom. It was like $1 to get in, I think 40 cents a mile. And then you'd leave it wherever you leave it. And they would collect them and charge them and do whatever Lime does.
And if you leave it in Japan, you'll find a Japanese person taking a nap.
Eating lunch,
charging their phone,
talking on their phone.
Go back to a previous article we did.
And Lime's ending this service. They are shutting it down. They did say that more than 18,000 people took more than 200,000 trips in Lime Pods. But it just didn't work for them. They weren't able to find the right partner to build the electric cars that they wanted. Apparently Fiat didn't do such a good job. I don't know. They don't
shitty cars.
I'm sorry, Paul?
They're shitty cars. I mean, they're fun to drive, but their build quality is really bad.
Yeah, I've heard some stories about.
So you couple that with different people using the car, trashing them.
Yeah, it barely holds up to one person, let alone 20.
Yeah, and that's you know what I mean. This is the thing we saw. I mean, there's a company called Canoe that did a debut yesterday with their kind of very boxy, very Apple-looking van kind of thing that who knows what it's going to do, but you know, apparently it's just going to roam the streets and pick people up and take them places.
A bus.
Sort of, except it's a really dumb bus because of the way the seat. But again, the problem, and this goes back to this Elon's fever dream of having 1 million Tesla taxis out there working while you're sleeping, which is, again, think about the last time you were in a gas station toilet or you were on a bus, and do you want that to happen to your car?
I'll get an extra one for that.
You got a what?
I'll get an extra one for that.
Yeah. So it's no, I'm sorry, Paul.
I was just going to interrupt here.
Yeah.
I'm going to share a screenshot. We've talked about this before on the show.
Yeah.
In Vancouver, BC, they have a service called evo.ca, which is a car share. Leave it wherever you want, pick it up wherever you want. It is extremely popular. They have, let's see, switch the screen. How do we do this? So I'm trying to figure this out again.
Anyway,
they have
Minimize got another icon for your picture.
Minimize this one.
Yeah, minimize it and pull up your.
There we go.
There you go.
You see it? So that's
Yeah.
the city of Vancouver. All these little things with like a 3 has got 3 cars at that location. They're all over the city. I think they're up to like 1,500 cars. They standardize on a Prius C, which is not an electric car, but it's a very efficient hybrid. Every single car has a bike rack and ski rack on the top. So if you want to take a mountain trip to do some recreation, you can. And it's a one-way rental that is going gangbusters. And apparently Oakland and Berkeley copied the same system, and they're doing it now in the East Bay, California. So why Lime couldn't succeed in Seattle, I don't know. I think it's
I didn't even know they had this service until now when I'm finding out they're canceling it.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder how many vehicles they had. Did it say in the article? Because for it to work, you want to have a vehicle like on every corner, within walking.
It just says how many people and how many rides, but it doesn't say how many cars.
Or maybe people were throwing the cars in the lake like
scooters. So that guy was putting them all in his backyard. The guy who was putting the scooters in the shipping container.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
anyway, if you want to learn about car sharing, go to evo.ca.
There you go. That's a good recommendation. Thank you, Paul. I don't think this invalidates car sharing.
No.
I think Lime took a whack at it and figured they'd rather play with micromobility, and I don't think that's a bad move either. Certainly lower cost of vehicles, easier to deploy and maintain, all of that. So if you're making money there, why mess with cars? Let somebody else do that.
Yeah.
And all those Tesla
also,
taxis.
if they're EVs, charging them becomes a logistical nightmare. Whereas scooters, you could have mobile chargers, you could swap out the scooter. You can't really go and swap out a car.
Well, EVs dockless is a nightmare. But if you had to go to a certain place and put them down, then it wouldn't be so bad.
And then the utility of the service is limited if you could only go to a docking station.
This is true. Right. But then that guy doesn't get them and put them in his backyard.
He'll figure out a way, Casey. He'll figure out a way.
Yeah. I'm kind of okay with that guy not getting more stuff. I kind of am. Well, we're going to go back to Casey for something that I was highly skeptical of that looks like it might be happening.
It's happening. So, Tesla, the Boring Company, has started to move they started to make some logistical moves, and Godot, or at least parts of it, are now in Las Vegas getting ready to dig the bore.
Do they have some bobcats on site?
No,
they got bigger than bobcats
in China. So Godot is getting ready to get in the ground and bore the Las Vegas Loop. And so obviously you're not going to move that much equipment without having your permits and everything. So we'll get to see what else will be in this station other than the trash can that we saw last time we looked at it. We saw a tunnel, we saw a shadowy vehicle, and we saw the tunnel. So now
where's the tunnel going to go from the
Las
convention center
Vegas
to the
Convention
airport?
Center to the hotels. Yep.
Allegedly.
It's basically just on the convention center, connecting halls, north, south halls, connection through an underground.
You do need a train to connect. I mean, it's pretty far.
Yeah. So we'll see.
What is it, 1.2 miles or something?
Yeah.
In the heat.
Yeah. And you got to go outside.
But the real question is, what on earth are they going to run through the tunnels?
The roller coaster that he didn't put in the
monorail.
Like, we know where the trash cans are being placed, but what on earth are they going to run through the tunnels? Is it going to be a fleet of X's? Like, what is the vehicle that's going to be pushed through that tunnel? Yeah.
How they're getting down to the tunnel.
I am really anxious to see information on that.
Yes. I might have to take a trip out to Vegas.
It's going to be Rivian Amazon.
Pile them in.
I would believe that, actually. I think it's interesting that the Boring Company's so quiet about what the vehicle is.
Well, Elon's not there full time, so they don't have to be also braggadocious.
I guess they don't want more business. They don't have something to talk about.
I think that
they have more business.
They won this bid with the Las Vegas Convention Center, looking at different bids and deciding that, yes, this makes sense. But man, we don't know what it is. We have no clue as to how this is going to operate, what vehicles are going to be there,
how many line from the airport. You know, those airport tram things that go underground, they'll just extend those out to the convention.
So it's like a walkway, like a flat escalator. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, does the full size van fit in the reduced diameter tunnel?
I have no idea.
Cut the roof off.
We know that a Model X fits in, and we know that there's some space around the top, but I don't know if a van would fit.
Yeah, and
do you know somebody that makes a full size van that runs in tunnels? I mean,
no.
The diesel ones would be really smart to run.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we know it would be electric propulsion. We know it would be electric propulsion because he part of the other way that he's able to save on costs is they don't have to do as many ventilation shafts. They don't have to do as much extraction equipment because there's no combustion going on in the tunnels. It's just people breathing.
Yeah, if it's an electric vehicle, it cuts down on cost.
I mean,
but again, love to see what this is going to be because as we talked about previous episodes, we got no clue how this is going to work.
That's exciting to watch.
I'll go out on a limb. Tesla has no clue what the vehicle's going to be.
There's no way no way that they got this far
into it. They're going to slap something together like the rocket.
Okay, guys, now that we have the tunnel built, what are we going to put in it? There's no way that's the case.
They're going to slap something together like the rocket.
Did you
change times three or four times?
The Boring Company presentation of the cars in the tunnel. Remember when it was a big deal?
Yeah.
And it was going to be like so awesome, and it ended up it's just a fucking Tesla car running on a rail.
A skateboard.
Yeah,
well, that was the loop. That's not the Hyperloop. That's just the loop.
That was the. Again, it doesn't make sense if it's just an X running in a tunnel.
Yeah, even a regular X doesn't work because you got the doors, you got to get the people into the two back seats, and you can only hold 7.
Yeah. It hits the side of the wall.
Actually, the doors wouldn't even open because it would recognize there's a wall there, and they just wouldn't open.
Yeah, they would just sit there.
Yeah,
I guess then you don't have to worry about if it breaks down. You have to worry about somebody like messing with it.
We're gonna have to wait and see because it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. So I think somebody's got one more.
I mean, it's cool they're digging a hole, but yeah, will they finish it and what will run in it and what will the fare be? Like, will they charge you what a taxi costs to ride in it? Probably.
Did they mention what they thought the fare might be? I thought they did.
I don't think it is because it's private, right? So it might be included as part of the convention center, admission.
I think the idea, no. I think the idea was that it would be a free way of moving convention people back and forth between the halls. At least that was the way it was originally presented.
Oh, okay. So this will
maybe
be
between
free.
the halls, but not to the hotels.
No,
Well, this is
not to
not
the
going to the hotels.
The
It's
taxi
just
and Uber will have a shit if
yeah.
Oh,
they
they
have
would too.
competition.
Yeah.
it's strictly within the convention
And that's
center.
been the problem with mass transit in Las Vegas forever. The taxi lobby there is huge. And at one time was very powerful. Uber's cut a lot of their influence, but yeah, all those people that drive people around Vegas don't want to give up that money. It's good.
Yeah, that's why the monorail system they built on both sides of the strip is useless.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Absolutely.
too far set back. It's like 4 blocks away from the strip, and you got to walk a mile and a half just to get to a station. Like it's crazy.
It is,
and it's expensive.
No, it's free. Monorail system's free.
No,
yeah. The monorail. Well,
is it free?
Free to ride it.
Oh.
So when Elon and co, not just Elon, but other people like him, like Chevrolet and Uber, Lyft, put the taxis out of business, maybe then they'll revisit it because there'll be no lobby.
I don't believe me. I think mass transit in Vegas makes good sense, man. You know what I mean? It's like the idea that there isn't like something, even powered walkways. You know what I mean? Up and down the strip is insane to me. But again, we have the rules that we have, and
you notice in Vegas the powered walkways, they all go into casinos.
Yeah.
So like if you find a powered sidewalk, man, it's pushing you right into the main entrance of a casino.
Yes, it does. And you notice there's not one going back out to the.
That's right. There's not one going out. Yeah.
You gotta walk that one.
Like I said, I'm going to just put this out here because I gotta be me. I'm willing to bet you that you are positive Tesla has this, or the Boring Company has this figured out. I'm willing to tell you, no, they don't.
I'm just wondering if they don't, how did they secure the bid? Like they have to be basing their costs. Bid. Yeah, they got low bid, but
we're gonna do it. Don't worry about it. Look at our garbage can.
That's all they said is don't worry about it. Well, we've got it figured out. Trust us.
But they and
the Las Vegas Convention Committee just said, yeah,
okay,
whatever, we're good with that. There's no way, Russell. No way.
It's at a quarter of the price of everybody else. We've got to say okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what it is.
They had to have seen something, and I'm curious what it shapes up to be, and maybe they'll let us know what it was and like how close it came to what it was.
But I mean, it's got to go under public roadways and stuff, right. So there's got to be some public record of permits, and
they're secret permits until they get done.
Secret.
Right. I don't know, but you wouldn't move multi-million-dollar boring machine to the site if you don't have permits.
Well, if it was on private property, I mean, you could maybe do some stuff, but
why waste the shipping cost and the man hours of reassembling that thing?
It's not that far. Come on, it's LA to Vegas. You know what I mean?
It's not that
5 hours at 4 a.m.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's not. I mean, they're moving heavy equipment, yeah, but that kind of stuff goes on in Vegas all the time. They moved a used boring machine from Los Angeles to Vegas. I promise you, it was not a significant part of the project cost.
Well, I'm just saying, as cost sensitive as Elon's companies are,
you wouldn't go there. You wouldn't rent the machinery. You wouldn't do anything until you have the plan ready to go.
Especially when you've got customers lined up already.
Elon Musk.
You got Chicago. You got the supposed East Coast loop, the alleged East Coast loop. He's got other stuff he can put that lease.
That's what you're doing for us next week, Casey. You're heading out to Maryland and figure out where that loop starts.
I'll do it.
But you got to remember, like, City of Vegas approves any bullshit project. I mean, Faraday Future, they're like, yeah, come on down.
Thank you.
We're gonna make it big. Okay, yeah, you can start.
That was the state, Paul. The state will approve anything. This is a private company that owns a convention center. They got to know where their dimes and nickels are going towards.
Your faith is charming.
Is the private company publicly owned, or are they all investor owned off the market?
I'm with Russell. I'll believe it when I can take a ride on whatever vehicle is in whatever tunnel.
No, okay. So Paul, you're saying that you don't believe there's a plan in place at all. That's what Russell's saying. There's no plan. They're making it up as they go along.
Some minimal plan that they're going to wing it as they go, but the chances of the plan being finished and financially viable, I'm not buying
zero.
There's
zero.
It's not financially viable. It's a free. It's something that is built to spec to move people. They've got a bid in.
But who's
it's going to
paying for
cost you X. The convention center is paying for it all.
Yeah.
It is a private tunnel for the convention center. They bought it. They put it out. They got bids and they approved the Boring Company's bid.
So
I
right,
believe
because
it'll be
the Boring Company low bid it to get the job.
Yep.
And it's going to be one delay after another, and
they're going to big dig it.
But do you believe what Russell's saying, that they don't have a clue as to how they're going to move people in it? I just can't believe.
I have a feeling like Elon went in there and did some song and dance and said, "Hey, trust me, man, it's all good." Like the monorail guy in The Simpsons.
Exactly.
And they bought into it, and it's going to fail miserably.
Oh my goodness!
Oh my gosh, man!
So, let me throw one more wrench into the works here.
Okay,
and I'm not a geologist, but there is a super large aquifer directly underneath this project.
Okay, but I mean, it's waterproof.
Yeah, it is. Okay.
I don't know about when they're digging it, but when it's done, it's waterproof.
Okay, that's great. Maybe it'll be mini subs. Everybody will throw mini subs, and they'll shoot them through the water-filled. I'm not saying it's going to flood. I don't know, but I've heard a lot of discussion from geology people who may or may not know what they're talking about, that this is a super risky project because of that aquifer.
Maybe that's why it was low.
I don't know.
So the next question with that is, this thing takes off, right? It's done. It's successful. They've figured it out as they've gone along. They've implemented a plan they've already had secretly, whatever. How much of this can they apply to the Chicago Loop? Because that one's already approved, right?
That mayor's out of office.
That was approved until the government changed in Chicago.
Okay. Never mind then.
Yeah. That one's done.
Yeah, this is the only Boring Company project there is. Right?
One that
we know of.
One that's actually starting to dig, quote unquote.
Okay, fair enough.
They did dig in Baltimore, but that stopped. Something happened there. But
oh, they were digging there.
They did dig. They had a spot in Baltimore.
Maybe because they were missing that segment near DC that everybody's like, whoa, wait, what?
Yeah, that'd be difficult. Okay, we're getting out. We're in a portage.
Well, I am sure we'll be around to see what happens eventually. We will definitely have an answer at some point. We're just gonna have to wait.
I'm sure Elon could produce lots of pretty sketches. All those renderings of that 16-passenger bus thingy that allegedly, you know what I mean? Like, look, we're going to make this.
But he canceled that like 3 different times.
Has he made any of those yet? Has anybody seen those?
We ended up with the Model X, regular Model X. It was supposed to have guide wheels. They're gone too. So regular Model X in a tunnel.
It was totally... My theory is it would be totally within Elon's character to have blown a bunch of smoke up their skirts to get this gig to keep the Boring Company alive. That's all. I'm a jerk, and now all the Tesla fans. Downer. I know, I'm such a downer. I'm no fun. I'd love Hyperloop to be real, but guess what? It's not.
There's like 3 Hyperloop companies, including the one in Saudi Arabia.
Oh boy,
it's coming. It's
still
coming.
Not real. It's still not real, okay? And you know what? It's silly. That's the whole point. That's the thing. Okay, I'm not going to go down that hole.
No, well, we've got the Japanese show. We've got the Japanese bullet train. We've got the
don't go down that hole.
Okay, fine.
But that has nothing to do with a vacuum tube.
No vacuum tube, but the same concept.
Those are high-speed trains or stuff that we've done for years and years and years. That is
but now you can go higher speed with less energy because you're not pushing the air out of the way.
But you don't need to have a whatever. I get here. I see.
And what's the cost per mile of an underground train versus an above ground train?
Well, the beauty of the Hyperloop is you're supposed to be putting it on pylons, but if you have to go in the city, you can dig a tunnel.
It's expensive. Bottom line.
Yeah. So the Hyperloop from LA to San Francisco, the one-way fare will be $1,800 or something.
For the first ride.
But it
The
takes
second
you
ride
and a
will
half
Put you there in
minutes.
12 and a half seconds, Paul.
Yeah.
Of course, your brain is melted by the time you get there.
Your brain comes in another minute and a half, though. That's the problem.
I like that. You get there and you're like, ugh. Okay, that's all I got this week. Anybody else got anything?
Yeah.
Casey Green.
No, not me. Mark's got one more thing.
Mark does?
I do.
Yeah.
What's my one more thing?
The Fremont Police Department.
That spiffy shirt?
Oh, a report just came in
Jesus, here we go.
the Fremont Police, of course, purchased a used Model S and made it into a patrol car. And it just came off the wire. Casey found it that the patrol car was on a police business chase, and they noticed that they were down to 6 miles on the battery left and had to cut off the chase. Now, here's the crazy thing. Like, we could see that could possibly happen, and obviously it did happen. But the crazy thing is that this is not uncommon for their gasoline cars as well. That they will be out and have to do a chase, and they'll be down to 1/8 of a tank, and they have to break off the chase. So this is not something that's completely out of character for the Fremont Police or any police department,
but
because they're not sure as to when a chase happens at the end of a shift.
Yeah.
But as any cop will tell you, you can't outrun a radio.
Exactly.
So,
Correct.
And that's
You
what
just
they
radio
did.
to another car, and
Yep.
the other car picks up the chase.
But we had talked about this with the patrol car that you certainly could run out of battery at some point. But man, it just seems like it came true in this particular instance. But never fear, the gas cars do the same thing.
And conversely, if you're the bad guy in an EV and you run out of charge, ooh, oh shit.
Then they both pull over to a supercharger station, and it's whoever gets out of there first.
And they charge, and then they get to go again.
Right.
Oh, man.
They sit there and
It's
have
like
a little.
a free zone. They can't be arrested
Right.
until the actual chase happens again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a sanctuary of the supercharger.
yeah. The same.
You can't touch me, copper.
They're screaming at each other from the supercharger, just right beside each other.
So the cop radioed to the next guy to take the lead, and then eventually they canceled the chase altogether because it got unsafe.
Unsafe, anyways.
Yeah, but the same thing with the gas car. If you run out of gas and you don't have another car to take over, now you're going to take 5 minutes to fill up, and the dude's got away. So same situation, except he now has.
But most police
15
departments
minutes
have
away.
more than one vehicle, so they can radio another one to.
Most do, right? Not Fremont, but yeah, most.
Yeah.
Well, they did, and it worked until they got unsafe. They got out of the parameters because I think that California has a big police chase issue. Not as bad as it used to be, but so they exceeded the
They have
parameters.
like those tire spikes and stuff they can put down on that.
Yeah. And so they exceeded the parameters that they were allowed to operate under, and they caught him a little bit later. So, but it was even more fun. Is this was actually caused because the previous shift didn't plug in the car after they ended it. They just
They
parked it.
didn't plug in the car.
But apparently there was a policeman who commented on one of the copies of the story. He said that this happens a lot on the gas cars. It's you'll pull in for your shift, and then Jimmy forgot to not plug it in, but fill it up on his way back to the station. Assuming this is a station that
And you
doesn't
get a
have,
call right away. You got to leave. You can't fill it up.
You got to miss out on your coffee, and
Although larger police departments have their own fueling stations.
right.
in there.
This is one of the ones that doesn't have a depot on site for either environmental or cost reasons. And so the previous guy didn't fill it up. Like you said, you got to go out. You're getting your coffee and whatever else they get with coffee, and
and you're in a police interceptor that gets like 12 miles per gallon or something.
Yes.
So
exactly.
I got nothing. That's just sad.
We'll
Let's
see if that Indianapolis department runs into these issues as well.
This is why, yeah. If you can't maintain something like that, you should have to be like walking a beat for a month.
Yeah.
Maybe
if you
Okay.
forget to plug in the car when
Maybe
you
they are.
Yeah.
If you've got a car with 250, 260 miles of range,
Yeah.
and you're doing your work and you're down to 6 miles of range, even down to 20 miles of range.
It does turn yellow before you get to 6.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you're just not responsible.
Yeah.
Okay. Because this wasn't a 200-mile police chase.
No.
Yeah.
So unless he got the car turned over to him at 12 miles, and then he looked down and said, "Oh shoot!"
And the first thing you do is go charge the goddamn.
Yeah, like, hey, chief, I just got in this car and it doesn't have any juice. I'm gonna go over to I'm gonna go get everybody some donuts and coffee, and I'm gonna juice this thing up, eh?
You're in Fremont. You can go to the V3, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
20 minutes.
Or less. Yeah, because you only need enough for your shift. So, I mean, like you said, 15, 20 minutes at the most.
Whatever. Even if they sat there for an hour. You know what I mean?
They can totally sit there for an hour and do reports.
There we go. Okay.
Or eat donuts.
Let's do some shout outs and go home. I'm going to start with you, Casey Green.
Casey Green, youtube.com/Casey Green, KACEYGREEN. As I said on the Test of Life today, my storage server just chastised me. It's full. And my camera memory is half full. So I have to start getting some videos out. So it's looking like, if you haven't noticed my nice blurry background, I have finally set up a proper desk, my desktop computer, and I now have the equipment.
Oh.
And
Casey, you do know digital storage is not very expensive. So you could
it is for 4K video.
expand your storage.
And so at this point, I now need to do some editing sessions, and next week I should have a video up for Monday.
All right, we're gonna call you on that, Casey.
All right, do. I need that. Oh, and next week I'll be in another location.
Another fuzzy room.
It might be fuzzy, it might not, but it'll be a different place. That's for sure. I've got business in New York City, so yes.
There you go, Mr. Paul Guzik.
I would just like to say hello to everybody in the Mountain States region and my business services and repairs, hybrids and EVs, Boulder Hybrids. Our website is boulderhc.com, and our used car inventory, when I get time to upload it, is at boulderh.com. We do sell used cars.
There we go. If you have an EV or a hybrid and you need it repaired, Paul's your man. If you want to buy a great deal on one that you know is going to be reliable because it's Paul.
And if you're thinking of buying one and you want an opinion from a mechanic's point of view, is this car a smart purchase? I will give you a very honest opinion.
Paul's painfully honest.
To buy.
Yes.
Like, as fun as the Fiat electric cars are to drive, they're a piece of shit from a reliability point of view.
There goes that FCA
there
sponsorship.
you go.
The one guy I knew who bought one, the first week he had it, the window switch failed, and then after he repaired that, the door handle broke. So
Yeah, the build quality is awful, and the support from corporate is awful. They're like, well, it's a compliance car, so screw you.
Pretty much.
Anyway.
Last and certainly not least, since Tony isn't here, and Danny Cooper is, of course, off this week as well. Let's finish.
Danny not here?
Let's finish up with Mr. Mark Coughlin.
Just a shout out to the Waterloo Region EVA. We completed a successful National Drive Electric Week in Cambridge. Had a fabulous time. Lots of people out. Over 100 cars and 600 people attended. So got a lot of people, a lot of interest in EVs. Answered a lot of questions. We'll be doing it again next year. Look us up at WREV. Group, WREVA Group on Twitter, or follow us on Facebook.
And all the EV clubs in Canada are called EVA.
Oh, man. I like that. Okay. As always, I want to thank Michael Manring for our amazing theme music. You can visit him at manthing.com. Buy his CDs, buy songs, download, do whatever. Michael deserves the support. We thank him for supporting the show since it first started. You can visit us on social media. Oddly enough, we are usually What Drives Us, facebook.com/What Drives Us. We are at What Drives Us on Twitter. I don't care about Instagram anymore. Honestly, Can I tell you how much Mark's like, this is not how you market social media. I hate Instagram.
I hate it.
God, I hate Instagram.
But look for us on the gram.
I'm a photographer. I hate Instagram, but whatever. Want to thank Lexus. I'm driving the Lexus UX 250H this week, and I am really enjoying it.
And which one is that's the little?
It's the CHR hybrid. Okay. Yeah, but they did a really good job of making it a Lexus. It's way better than the Toyota version. Way more, like the Toyota version's kind of underpowered. The hybrid pack gives it a lot more oomph. It's a lot peppier. It's a lot more fun to drive. I drove. So here's it. Well, I'll blow the review coming soon.
Teaser.
Drove from where I live up to Julian in the mountains at 4,500 feet. And down, all switchback road, right? Going uphill, 38 mpg. 38, and I was not being polite to that car, okay? Coming back down, yeah, I mean, not a big surprise. You're dropping 4,000 feet.
Pegged at 100.
Well, it was pegged at 100 for most of the trip, but I ended up at like 70. But that's incredible gas mileage for a gas car. Let's be realistic. I mean, yeah, it's great mileage. It's fun to drive. It's very nice. I'm a big fan, and I like the CHR, but I'm not a big fan of the CHR.
And it's all Lexus-y inside.
All very Lexus-y inside.
And does it have like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto?
It does not have Android Auto. It does have Apple CarPlay, and it has that horrible Lexus touchpad system that no one on the planet likes except
with
Lexus.
That stupid mouse thing.
No, you don't have that. They don't have the mouse thing anymore. Now it's just a little mouse pad. Like there's a little touchpad, and it's awful. It's just awful. I don't. Now it's like
now you're scaring people,
like, dude. Sorry to go off on a tangent at the end of the show, but like, do car companies ever do focus groups with real customers? Like, my Prius Prime doesn't have a volume knob. It's got an up and down touch button for volume on the right hand side of the radio, which is about as unintuitive as you can get. You know, I can use the steering wheel control, which isn't bad, but I want a frickin' knob I can reach that's on the left side of the radio and turn it for volume and stations.
Mine is on the right hand side, and it's a touch button up and down as well.
And you hate it?
But I don't use it. Yeah, I've got a wheel I've got a knob on my wheel, so
right. That you can program because it's a Tesla.
The volume, no.
Paul, you bring up a good point, because my observation was, do the people who design this crap actually ever drive these cars?
Right.
No.
Or talk to the people who are going to buy them and say, hey, what do you like about this car? What do you not like? Like almost every person in the world wants a knob for their radio, for the volume.
Yeah.
I almost had to go into the owner's manual. And I do this. I mean, I have like a familiarization process that I go through with every new car. And I almost had to go into the owner's manual to figure out, and I still haven't really figured it out, how to tune the radio. How to get to a station. I knew where it was. I just couldn't. There's no knob. There's no thing. There was nothing on the touchpad. I eventually sort of found a workaround. But yeah, I mean,
I want to say, Alexa, play NPR.
Which wouldn't be bad if then Jeff Bezos has all of my phone conversations. And, not that I care. I mean, it's not.
He's got them already.
Yeah, he's got them already. I don't care. You know, Google has mine. I have a Google Home. So, but yeah, it's that infotainment. It's like every car company's weakest Achilles heel is the infotainment system, whether it's the interface or the way it works or its reliability or something. I've never heard.
And it becomes obsolete. You know, you look at a 2009 Prius now, the infotainment and navigation is just awful, you know?
Yeah.
And had they just put in a iPhone interface back then, it would still be current.
Yeah. Even the Tesla one's pretty crappy. But the only upside to that is that it's the only brand where they can actually change it with the current setup. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and where they're committed to doing it for free.
Now, have they done that?
I had a customer call me who was thinking of buying a 2019 Prime versus a 2020 because they're blowing out the 19s at a good price. I said, well, the 2020, besides having 5 seatbelts, it's Apple CarPlay. He says, yeah, but can't they just update the 2019 software?
No, never going to do that.
Well, probably technically there might be a way to do it, but they'll never do it because they want you to buy a new car, not update the current car. No car company other than Tesla wants to update an old car's feature set.
Exactly.
Right. Absolutely.
For any price. They won't do it for $400.
Now, on that one specific feature, it does require a piece of Apple hardware. You do have to buy a chip from Apple to get that. It's not just a software update. Like Tesla's never going to be able to do a software update and get Apple CarPlay. Not that they ever would.
They'll need the chip as well.
Yeah, they need to buy the chip, and it's not expensive, but it's just you got to have that thing that works. And even when you put CarPlay in, it works like hell because there's no touch screen. You got to use that stupid touchpad, and it makes that dunk dunk noise every time you click it. It's the worst. It's degrading. And what's sad is everything else in the car is so nice. But
it could also use a plug. That would be nice.
A plug?
Like a EV plug.
Plug-in hybrid.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm done. Get the gas pumps. Yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay. Well, I think that's all I got. Let's see. We're talking about the Lexus. Again, youtube.com/what
When's
drives
your
us.
review going to be up?
Don't pressure me, Paul. Just don't.
I have the Hyperloop is running in Vegas.
Yeah, no, I have the car until Friday, so it'll probably be up late next week. Probably late next week. Hopefully, maybe by the show next week. Who knows?
Let's see who can get their video up first.
Whose video?
You and me.
PC versus Russell.
Because we both are going to have
wars. Yes.
a procrastination war. Yeah.
Okay. I should be able to get this one up pretty quick, and it'll be a mostly positive review except for the infotainment system.
They should have thought of that and done a focus group.
So yeah, hey,
Their own
thanks,
fault.
Lexus. Sorry to spend 10 minutes at the end of the show bashing your infotainment system that you've spent millions of dollars developing. I apologize, but I don't feel bad about it. YouTube.com/what drives us. Please go there. Please subscribe. We are at 989. We need 11 more of you
11.
people. Your
Sign
friends,
up your
please.
dog, your cat, whatever.
If you love this show, tell your friends, ask your friends, plead with your friends to go and subscribe to us on YouTube. We want to hit that 1,000 mark. And if we don't soon, I'm going to be killing motherfuckers. Okay. That's all I'm saying. Okay.
Oh,
Bodies
get
are gonna
Patreon.
So, is it Casey? Is it Paul? Is it Mark? Who do you like
It's
better?
one of us.
It's the lawyer. It's the lawyer.
There we go. So please subscribe. YouTube.com/what drives us. Thank you. My thanks to Casey Green, Paul Guzik, and Mark Coughlin for a fantastic show.
Thank you, Russell.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for being on. And as always, thanks to all of you who watch and listen. You're the reason we do the show. Tune in next week and find out. Dramatic pause. What drives us?
No, it's dunk, dunk, dunk.
I need to record that noise. Oh, I hate it. See you next week, everybody. Thank
It's
you.
like the dunk, dunk's like loser, loser.